John, the drinking thing, it didn't really resonate with me. It's, Senator Markwayne Mullin, who was on our show a little bit earlier, is the one that brought this up during Pete Hegseth's confirmation battle. He said, which of you haven't shown up here, and without drinking? But this quote is the one that got me, John. It was from a Democrat. He said, yeah, there are some people that have showed up drinking. Not many Democrats, though. In fact, he questioned openly whether or not some of his Democratic colleagues had showed up high.
It's ridiculous. And what occurred to me when I read this story, Will, is that if you are planning a spring break trip to our nation's capital with your family, you might want to avoid Congress at night. It's turned into a zoo. This place, you've got on one side of the Capitol building, you have Animal House. On the other side of the Capitol building, you have a nursing home. And so at night is not the place, it's not the time you want to go.
But substance abuse is only one part of the problem, Tiana. Listen to this quote from a Democratic congressman. It said, when talking about senators and congressmen that are over the hill, they're a little bit old, long in the tooth. He said, there's no question somewhere between 6 and a dozen of my colleagues are at a point where I don't think they have their faculties to do their job. We all talk about it when it comes to Mitch McConnell or when Joe Biden was in office, but there was Dianne Feinstein. This, to me, actually is more concerning than even substance abuse. It's people who just simply aren't capable anymore of doing their job.
Oh, absolutely. At least the defense is everyone's drinking for 11 p.m. votes. The issue with these incredibly old lawmakers is that they're not functional ever during the day, right? You had Kay Granger managed to live in a retirement facility for half her term last year. And remember, right now, congressional approval rating is literally half of that of Donald Trump. So we have barely a quarter of the country that thinks Congress is doing an okay, passable job. And part of this is why you have 84-year-old Nancy Pelosi still effectively running the Democratic Party.
Do you think that's an argument? I mean, I'll tell you this. I believe that we should have term limits. Do you both? John, I'll go to you first. Do you think we should have term limits in light of this? At some point, and term limits don't necessarily age someone out. You presume if they run earlier, then they'll be aged out before dementia. They could theoretically be elected at 75 and still have enough terms to reach the age of dementia. But there's got to be something about how long someone sits in these offices.
Yeah, here's the thing. Every time somebody sees a story like the one we're talking about right now, they just don't understand why people are dismissive of the idea of term limits. Whether you have term limits or whether you don't have term limits, there's an opportunity to remove somebody every 2 years. We've had a regularly scheduled election in this country since our founding. And I think that you got to start moving some of these people out. They're not actually fulfilling their obligation to represent the people who they are supposed to represent. You got to move them out in the election. And if term limits helps that process, okay. But I think we have to get more serious about rotating through people so that you have the best of the best in there at all times.
I agree. On that note, I do find him increasingly independent and interesting the more he speaks. It doesn't mean I endorse him for any office, but Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, he just says what he thinks, and that's all there is to it. And he said this as part of this article. He said, when asked what he hates the most about the job, the performance art and having to monetize everything. It's turned all of us into OnlyFans models, just monetizing your latest protest or your latest speech or whatever. There's not a lot of dignity in it. And we could all sit here and we could say, the guy who wears a hoodie and basketball shorts is talking about dignity, but there is a deeper dignity that he's talking about, and I think he's right about comparing it to OnlyFans, Tiana.
Yeah, frankly, prostituting yourself is not that different than what half of Congress is doing. If we look at, especially lately since Trump took in office, what has been the Democratic form of resistance? Has it been actually trying to challenge his nominees or bring up extra bills to Speaker Johnson? No, it's been memes. It's been TikTok videos of choose your fighter, look at AOC dance, or hold up your Fogo de Chao sign accusing Donald Trump of stealing and Elon Musk of being a liar. The hashtag resistance process has totally degraded the quality of the lawmaker.
All right, I've got to leave it there. John Ashbrook, Tiana, thank you both for being with me today.